When I was 17, I got a job as a hostel assistant at a small off-campus lodge near my school. The place had 20 rooms, dim yellow bulbs, and long, narrow hallways that always smelled like damp wood. But the strangest part of the building was room 19. It had been locked for years. Nobody stayed there, nobody cleaned it, and anytime I asked the manager, Madam Ruth, she would look away and say, "Leave that room alone. Even the air inside is not for living people." I thought she was joking, until the night I heard something moving inside. The first night, my shift ended by 11:30 p.m. I was turning off the corridor lights when I heard a sound from room 19. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, dragging knocks, like someone tapping their fingernail on wood. I froze. Every other student was asleep. I checked the keys hanging on the wall. Room 19's key was still there. No one was inside. But the knocking continued. My chest tightened. The knocking changed. It got faster, more impatient, like the thing behind the door realized I was listening. Then it whispered, "Open." The voice wasn't male. It sounded like breath passing through broken teeth. I ran to my room and stayed awake till morning. The second night, I decided I would ignore room 19 forever. But nightmares didn't let me. I dreamt of a tall shadow with long arms scraping the walls of room 19. Its head was bent sideways like its neck was broken, and its tongue dragged along the floor. When it breathed, the walls bent inward like they were made of paper. When I woke up, my bedsheet smelled like the damp hallway. Like something had been standing beside me, watching. By the third night, things got worse. I was sweeping the corridor around 12:40 a.m. when I heard bare feet walking behind me. Soft, wet, slow. I turned around quickly. Nobody. I swept again. The footsteps walked again. But this time, I realized something terrifying. The footsteps were matching the rhythm of my heartbeat. Faster heartbeat equals faster footsteps. Slower heartbeat equals slower footsteps. It was like something invisible was standing so close to me that it could hear my body, feel my pulse, copy my movements, and walk when my heart told it to. At 1:03 a.m. exactly, the footsteps stopped, and room 19's door creaked open by itself, just 2 inches, enough for me to feel cold air crawl out. The next morning, one of the lodge girls, Kenny, came to me trembling. "Did you hear someone crying last night?" she asked. I shook my head. Kenny whispered, "It sounded like a girl crying inside my room, but when I opened my eyes, the crying stopped. I turned on my flashlight and I saw footprints on my floor." "What kind of footprints?" I asked. She stared at me, voice shaking. "They were wet, and they were facing my bed." My stomach dropped. Room 12 was directly opposite room 19. Whatever lived in room 19 was crossing the hallway and entering people's rooms. 1 week later, at exactly 2:14 a.m., the generator went off. Total darkness. I used my phone light and walked toward the back of the building to check the switch. The corridor was dead quiet until I passed room 19. I heard breathing. Slow, heavy, like something large was crouching on the floor. I took 2 steps back, and my phone flashlight flickered, then stabilized, revealing a hand sliding out from under the door. A long, thin hand with too many joints. The fingers bent backward, then forward, then sideways. It pulled itself out inch by inch until the wrist appeared, then the forearm, then the elbow. I couldn't move. When the shoulder came out, I saw what the skin looked like. Wet gray stretched tight like old plastic. Then the face appeared. God, that face. It had no eyes, only dark holes where they should be. Its jaw hung loose, swinging slightly like a broken door. The mouth stretched too wide, too long. It whispered my name. It knew me. Guadluak. My phone fell from my hand. As the light rolled on the floor, the creature's shadow stretched across the wall. But it didn't look like the creature. The shadow was much taller, much longer, much hungrier. The creature's neck snapped upward, as if it smelled something sweet, me. It started crawling fast, too fast, like a spider missing half its bones. I ran. The hallway felt longer than usual. Every light flickered as I passed. My breath echoed like I was underwater. I could hear its hands slapping the floor behind me, wet, sticky, desperate. When I reached the exit door, it slammed shut in my face. Something didn't want me to leave. Behind me, the creature laughed, a low, bubbling sound like water boiling. I turned, shaking, and saw it standing upright for the first time. Its head scraped the ceiling. Its arms touched the floor. It took one step toward me, and room 19's door slammed shut by itself. The creature froze. Then it crawled backward, folding itself unnaturally, slipping under the door like water. And the building went silent. I left the job the next morning. I didn't tell anyone why. But that night, while packing my bag, I found something under my pillow. A long, wet fingerprint. Not a handprint. Not a smudge. A single finger mark, dragged slowly across my pillow toward where my head had been. There was also a note, written in shaky, childish handwriting. You shouldn't have listened at the door. I burned the pillow. I changed hostels. I never walked near that street again. But sometimes, late at night, when the world gets too quiet, I still hear it. And a voice whispering through the cracks of the dark. Open. When I finally moved out of the lodge, I thought the horror of room 19 would stay behind. I thought the thing, whatever it was trapped inside those walls. I was wrong. The first sign came on my second night in the new hostel. Nothing dramatic, nothing supernatural. Just a sound. But this time, it wasn't coming from a door. It was coming from inside my wardrobe. At first, I tried to convince myself it was rats, or the wood expanding, or wind, anything normal. But the knocking was too slow, too deliberate. Exactly the same rhythm as room 19. I stood up from my bed, grabbed my phone, and opened the wardrobe door. Nothing inside. No rats. No cracks. No sign anyone touched it. But as I closed the wardrobe, something cold touched the back of my neck. Like a wet finger. I spun around. The room was empty. But the smell, God, the smell hit me hard. That same damp, rotten scent from room 19. The scent that meant it was near. I convinced myself it was stress, trauma, imagination. Until the shadows began to change. One night while reading for exams, I saw a shadow on my wall. Not mine. It was too tall, too crooked, too thin. It stood behind me. stretched across the wall like a stain that refused to dry. I turned around quickly. Nothing, but the shadow on the wall didn't move. It stayed, as if the thing casting it was still standing right there in the room with me. Watching, breathing, waiting. Then the shadow bent, slowly, like it was lowering its head to look at me. I ran out of the room and slept in the hallway. The girl next door, my neighbor Tonia, noticed I was acting strange. One evening she asked, "What's wrong? You look like you haven't slept in days." I tried to lie, but she insisted. So I told her everything: the knocking, the shadow, the creature in room 19. She didn't laugh. Instead, she stepped closer and whispered, "Good luck, something has been knocking on my wall too." I froze. "What do you mean?" She swallowed hard. "Every night around 3 a.m., I hear someone tapping from your side of the wall. I thought you were doing it." My heart dropped into my stomach. The knocking wasn't coming from my room. It was coming through my room. Passing, searching, moving from wall to wall, looking for me. It got bold after that. It no longer hid behind walls or shadows. It walked inside my room. Every night around 2:00 a.m., the footsteps returned, the same wet, soft sound from the lodge, except this time they didn't match my heartbeat. They matched my breathing. When I inhaled, it walked forward. When I exhaled, it paused, as if it didn't want to step on the air I breathed. One night, my breathing got faster out of fear, and the footsteps got faster too. Then they stopped, right beside my bed. I held my breath. Silence. Then a whisper, so close to my ear I felt the cold moisture. "You moved." I didn't sleep till morning. The next day, I noticed something chilling. A fingerprint. Long, thin, wet, exactly like the one it left under my pillow in the old lodge. But this time, the mark wasn't on my pillow. It was on my neck. A perfect smear, starting behind my ear and dragging down to my collarbone. The creature had touched me while I slept. Worse, it had marked me, claimed me. Around 11 p.m. that night, Tonia came to my door crying. "Good luck, I saw something. Something is in your room." I grabbed her shoulders. "What did you see?" She shook her head violently. "I wasn't trying to look, I swear. I passed your window and saw something tall standing over your bed. Its head was almost touching the ceiling, and it turned its face toward me." She covered her mouth, trembling. "It has no eyes." My chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. Before I could speak, Tonia whispered, "Good luck. Whatever followed you is not done with you yet." The night it showed itself fully. That night, I stayed awake with my phone flashlight on. Around 2:13 a.m., the room got cold. My breath became visible. My ears started ringing. Something was entering the room. Not through the door. Not through the window. Through the walls. The wallpaper began to swell outward, like something was pushing from the other side. It pressed harder and harder until a hand slid through the wall. Then another hand. Then the head. The same eyeless face. The same broken jaw. The same sickening, wet skin. But this time, it wasn't crawling. It stood tall. Full height. 7 feet, maybe more. Its neck cracked as it tilted its head toward me. It lowered itself slowly until its broken face was inches from mine. Then it whispered, "I found you again." I tried to scream, but nothing came out. My body locked up. The creature reached its long finger toward my chest and tapped it. Once, twice, 3 times. Each tap echoed inside my ribs like it was tapping my bones. Then it said, "Your room was not the curse. You were." And it smiled. A wide, broken, horrifying smile. The lights exploded. My phone died. Everything went black. And in the darkness, I felt it climb onto my bed. Its weight pressed the mattress. Its breath crawled across my neck. And then, everything went silent. The next morning, I woke up at 4:50 a.m., drenched in cold sweat. But something was wrong. My bed was wet. My window was open. And on the wall facing my bed was a message written with a long, wet finger. "You can't run from what chose you. If you think this story has reached its peak, you're wrong. Because in the next episode, we will enter episode 2, where the creature finally explains what it wants, and the real nightmare begins. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you will get notified whenever we drop the next episode. Don't sleep yet. It's watching.